Hello, friends, and welcome to the final chapter of A Course of Love. Wow. There are 40 days and 40 nights ahead, of course, so our journey isn't finished, but the journey of these videos is finished because the 40 days and 40 nights is such a private experience. But I'm not finished talking about them, and I'll explain that a little as we get to the end of this. But meanwhile, let's go into this last chapter, which just is kind of a topper for everything that you've been through to this point and an introduction to what's coming next. And the chapter is titled The Secret of Succession. So pay attention to the word secret, because he doesn't actually address it in the chapter. So let's just pay attention and see what that secret might be. Beginning at verse 1, to succeed is to follow after and to follow into inheritance. It is a following that occurs in time and space rather than in truth. And I'm going to go ahead and read verse 2 before we talk about it. The series build to a climax to what during the time of evolution might have been called evolutionary leaps. So what can we learn from what's being said here? So in the first verse, when he says this following into inheritance is something that happens in time and space, but it doesn't really happen in truth. So it's part of the time and space experience, even though it's a perception. So the evolution of you is a perception. It is only happening in time and space. In actuality, you don't have anywhere to evolve to. But within the game of Earth, within humanity, that is actually something that's happening or seems to be happening. So, and in verse 2, the series build to a climax to what during the time of evolution might have been called evolutionary leaps. So in other words, we've built to a climax now. Something has begun and will continue that is literally the climax of your human experience, that will launch you into an evolutionary leap and has already begun. So he gives us a reminder that what you claim now has always been yours. It's not like you've achieved something, you've gotten somewhere, you've accomplished something. Remember from the earlier chapters, you're already the accomplished. Although you've arrived at recognizing the presence of self, your desire has not gone away, but has turned into desiring something else. Interesting. So all along, we imagined we were spurred on, called forth on this spiritual adventure by this burning desire to know who and what we really were. And now that we've come to this place, what a surprise. You realize who you are and the desire hasn't gone away. So what's up with that? And that's one of the things that we're looking at here. Verse 5, little can be had without desire. Desire, unlike want, asks for a response rather than a provision. Desire is a longing for, a stretching out for. Okay, this is a really good clue to this secret of succession. There's an innate, implanted desire to go beyond, to reach forward and come into the fullness of what you came here to do and be and realize. And it's that desire that propels you forward. Otherwise, if you didn't have it, what would you do? Like it says, little can be had without desire. If you don't want anything, what's your motivation? Why continue? But there's still something there. I know this has confused a lot of people that are coming into their own realization that, wait, the desire isn't gone. I thought I'd be completely peaceful and completely fulfilled once I understood who I am and what's going on here. But that's not happening. Verse 7, from the top of the mountain, arms outstretched. This desire too has caused your arms to raise as if of their own accord. You feel the power of giving and receiving as one. You offer up your glory and call it down from heaven at the same time. So as you look at this image of this person with arms outstretched, you can see that there's something within the individual that's expressing and giving it up by holding the arms and the being out, and there's something being received. So it's an exchange, as if this this character, becomes like a vessel that is an intermediary between the outward and the inward. And in the 40 days, you'll get to know those concepts even more. But the desire is stronger than ever before. So what is that? What is this desire? You have gone past hope. Hope is desire accompanied by expectation. In other words, you have an idea. Hope is like, I really want this, fill in the blank. I really want to feel this way. I really want to realize this. That's hope and an expectation, but you've gone beyond that. You don't have any expectations anymore because you realize when you look behind you, you've been led all along to exactly where you needed to be. So the expectations can be dropped because you can guarantee the fact that you're going to be surprised. There are surprises in store. Your expectations don't really serve you anymore because you can't predict what's going to happen. Union has been returned to you and you have returned to yourself. But the desire is stronger than ever before. So this phrase is repeated 6 times in this chapter. You know that's the secret. That's the secret he's pointing to, right within that phrase. But the desire is stronger than ever before. What do you desire more than ever before? When you look at that and you realize, like, maybe you can't even put words on it. That's not unusual. I don't know that it's difficult to put words on it. But there's something else that calls you forward. And it's like more important than it ever was. So it feels to me like in the past, the desire was a desire to be free of suffering. Like, get me out of this. I need to feel better. I want to actually like myself. I want to like other people. I want to like being here. So the desire was to find hope and to find relief from suffering. But that's not what this is. This desire comes from a different place. Verse 13, what is different now is that your wholeheartedness, as well as your desire, has moved beyond the pattern of thought. So there we have it. The reason why this desire is different is because it's not about satisfying the mind. The mind has been offered a belief system and evidence to support it that can cooperate with this process. And of course, we'll continue to work with the mind as we move along. But what your desire is coming from now is not a desperate, separated human being wanting relief from suffering. But the desire isn't about thought anymore. It's something in the heart. It's something from the whole of you that's wanting to come forward, that it's like yearning to be pulled up and expressed. Verse 16, the only reason why this might be so is that it is meant to be so. Something is still desired. So obviously, it's meant to be so. You may have thought, as I think I did, and I think a lot of people feel, like when you get to a point of realization, there's going to be peace and you got it. You solved the puzzle. Ta-da, I'm done. And there's this feeling like, okay, I've got it now. But that's not what happens. It's not the reality of it. And that's built into the program, is what he's telling us here. It is meant to be so. This desire to bring something more forth is part of your process and part of your function. So he goes into want, asks for provision in preparation for future needs. So I want to feel safe. I want to feel loved so that I'll be content in the future. You now stand in fulfillment, which is the secret of succession. Okay, well, there he spells it out. So those things have been fulfilled in you. You now know who you are and what you're doing here. That has been fulfilled. Yet the desire is stronger than ever before. Desire asks for a response, not provision. So that isn't something that you can get. From where is this response sought? From your own heart. And of course, when we think of heart, we're not talking about the place where romance lives. We're talking about the part of you that is beyond the mind, the part that is intuitive, the part that knows how it feels and what it is, and the part we can check into and connect with and develop an intimacy with. Verse 19, the interrelationship of fulfillment and desire is what occurs at the threshold. Beyond the threshold is the state in which desire has passed and been replaced by reverence. To move beyond desire to reverence is to move into the state of communion with God, full oneness with God, wholeness. So here we're given a little hint of what's to come. So you're at the threshold now, the interrelationship of fulfillment and desire. So you feel fulfilled, but you desire something more. And beyond the threshold is reverence. That's what comes next. So you had the time of learning. The time of learning brought you to the place of fulfillment. Remember, we've said this is the fulfillment of the time of Christ, and that again will be discussed more. And this is just a recognition that desire is also a temporary state. It's your vehicle to get you to the next state, which is reverence. And the 40 days and 40 nights will help bring you to that, forward to that state. You accept now that you are in a state of becoming. You have nowhere to go, but it is as if a new question is asked of you. You are asked for a response. The time for stories has ended. So the story of your life, the story of when you were born and who your family is and what you've done for a living and what happened to you, and actually the story of a personal identity, that's come to an end. Obviously, there's still a character that is being played through, but now that you realize you're not that character, then the stories about that character and the constant thinking about it and trying to solve it and fix it and figure it out. That's done. You'll notice things will happen to that character, and it won't be a bother. It won't matter. I mean, of course, you're still going to have responses to things that happen. And as long as you're in a body, or you're not actually in a body, as long as you're identifying as a body, as long as you're having this experience through the perception of having a body, then there's going to be a response to those experiences. And they're not a problem. They're all included. So it's not as if, and I don't know about you, but at one point I felt like, if I really get this, I'm going to cease to exist. I'm going to like melt into the great ooze of God, and I won't exist. And of course there was a huge amount of resistance to that. But that isn't actually what has happened. So what has happened is that the character and the character's role in the game is still there. It's just that there is not an attachment to it. There's not suffering as a result of it. There's not such extreme identification as actually being the character. And a feeling that my very existence depends on the well-being of the character. So as we move into the recognition of who we are, we can loosen our grip on the personal self and on being the character. So now let's go to this idea about you're asked for a response. A new question is asked of you and you're asked for a response. So I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I'm gonna say what I think that question and response is, even though he doesn't really point to it in the chapter. I think that the question is that who is this thing called me? Who is this thing called me? There's the question. And of course, a response is called for. And the response is not one of words. The response is one of looking to see what the answer is. It's not so much getting an answer as it is the looking itself. The turning to see what's there. And verse 25 actually supports this. This is why you have been told, as within, so without. You have taken the inward course, the inward journey, the only journey that is real, in the only way that is real. So this question of, who is this thing called me? Where do you go to find that out? You don't go outside of you to find that out. You go to your experience. And it's a present moment questioning. So we end this chapter then with like a summary of what's about to happen, an introduction to what's about to happen. Verse 26. We will spend 40 days and 40 nights here together at the top of the mountain, fasting from want, becoming aware of desire, responding to desire. This is the final stage of becoming. Herein lies the secret of succession. So this desire that he's talking about is really the desire to blossom. Just as a seed has within it the desire to become itself in its fullness, so too do you have that desire. And it's that desire that's going to propel you forward and give you the courage to really look and see and to really explore what's real, what's true. The most wonderful part of this entire course and this process is the fact that we're really only looking for truth. We are not looking for a new and improved belief system that can hold up to the rigors of a personal experience. We're really looking for what's true. And the promise that is here is this: what is absolutely true far exceeds your imagination. What is absolutely true is so much better than we ever could have dreamed. So you can pursue the truth without fear or trepidation and expose those things that keep you from seeing what's true and what's real. And the 40 days and 40 nights are a beautiful, amazing guide to help you in that process. So before I close out this last recording that I'm making in these chapters, which is kind of bittersweet for me because I feel like I can feel the hearts of you who share this with me. I've been working on a book for a couple of years, an inquiry companion to the 40 days and 40 nights, and I expect the rewrite on it to be finished before the end of 2017, and for then it to be available for publication. So for those of you who want to do that with me, it's not going to be the same thing. It's written, but I feel as if it's a true gift that was given to me, and I'm really happy to share it. So thank you for joining me. It's been wonderful. And who knows what I'll be called to do next, and who knows what you'll be called to do next. Who knows? Be careful. You might get called to do something, and it might be a surprise. But I give you my love and my open heart and my absolute assurance of the knowledge that you are the accomplished, you're already amazing and wonderful, and that you are another beautiful, perfect version of the one self. Many blessings.